best part of watching WrestleBound? I can only assume it's when you're sitting your fat asses down on your favorite chairs or couches in the comfort of your home. It's the same thing when watching your favorite wrestling program. Sure, it may be fun to go see it when it comes into town, but the worthwhile tickets cost them dollary dues, so it's easier to watch the weekly shows when they happen. On the odd occasion, we may fork over some cash to watch a pay-per-view, not when they're as common as a roll-up, but when they're infrequent and worth watching. That's how it used to be in the World Wrestling Federation, but in the mid-90s they wanted to give the consumer more bang for their bucks. Or they just wanted to get more funds because the company was in deep shit. So they went ahead and gave you more pay-per-views and gave them to you in your house. That wasn't how the games came about. What was I talking about? Jacob, cut to the billing. Get me out of here. If you're just joining us 11 episodes in, I took a look at most of the ports on WrestleMania the arcade game, to mixed results, but it was seen as a success to many, so did you know it was given a sequel? Well, you do now. WWF In Your House was that follow-up to the arcade game, just without the involvement of Midway, instead being developed by Sculptured Software and published by Acclaim. The name of the game comes from the In Your House events, which were cheaper pay-per-views held in between the Big Five. This was released a little bit after the 11th event, Buried Alive. Well, there's a coincidence, but there's also a disconnect between them, as you'll see. It was released for the PS1, the Sega Saturn, and MS-DOS in North America and Europe during the fourth quarter of 1996 and into 97. Support goes up to 4 players, and the ESRB rated it KA for kids to adults. They really went all in with the house part of In Your House. You have the titular house in the center about to be crushed by Bret Hart's forearm, Vader's entire being with the splash, and a Shawn Michaels elbow from the look of it. The cover also comes with the tagline of "There Goes the Neighborhood," but there never was one around to begin with. I do like the old officially licensed seal, beats the dumb sticker. The back is bright, and besides a couple different screenshots are pretty much the same, other than them being either square or rectangular. I'm not sure how this is gonna go. If it's anything like the last game, it may not go too well, but I'm hoping there will be improvements when it comes to these. So let's see what this is like in my house. That's not an open invitation. Don't come to my house! You know what's a good indication that a game is going to be good? When the guys that are in it just beat the shit out of the logo. Yeah, I hate that logo. Hate that logo. Fucking hate that logo. We get a montage of matches during the warehouse era of Raw, as well as some smooth sprite animations. It's accompanied by the song "We're All Together Now," which makes sense given the time frame, but I wouldn't associate it with how this game looks. So begins the disconnect. In order to start doing the wrestles in my house, we gotta choose between 10 of the finest that were on the roster. 2 more than the arcade, with a couple I remember from there, but most of the faces are new to this digitized format. Like
Hunter, Hearst, Helmsley, the British Bulldog, Ahmed Johnson. It's time! It's time! It's Vader time! You're nothing but a degenerate. Even though lately you've had some sunny days, my friend.
And that guy who got released just before this game went to market because he lied about seeing his deceased father. He really was the worst to work with, wasn't he? But I'm picking Owen Hart because...
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
And I can't choose my opponent, but I am able to pick a mode, and we'll go with Season. Does that mean I have to work 300 days a year being away from my family most of the time while my body degrades from all the abuse and drugs I'll consume?
Not in my house.
Like with most wrestling games of an arcade ilk, most of their modes are tourney style where you battle against the entire roster.
The ideas don't fall far from creative for repeating similar ideas.
Acclaim and Sculptured Software, initials are appropriate, must have read from the same notepad. The graphics have all the wrestlers digitized, taking a similar approach to Mortal Kombat, and the controls are of a similar vein as well.
Where you just mash.
There's more to it if you look deep enough. Sure, you have your standard punch and kick, its super equivalent buttons, and the run and block buttons, but you can also use a combination of these buttons along with tapping the directional buttons to pull off moves unique to your wrestler of choice. And the manual's kind enough to let you know those moves.
Which I'm never gonna memorize. Unless...
I've really made it far in life now.
The Saturn is a little smoother and polished, but like its predecessor, I still have a problem with the controls as everything is crammed into the 6 buttons and not using the shoulders in any capacity.
There. Why not use them, Sega?
Each match is contested under 2 out of 3 falls rules, so the first to pick up 2 falls wins the match, and you'll move on to the next wrestler, and I'm glad the settings changed to be specific to who you're facing.
Like, it makes sense for Shawn Michaels to hang around this neon, underground, rockin' gay bar, but I don't exactly get why Vader is at an old-fashioned mining facility or why Ultimate Warrior is in the desert. Is there a comic I missed?
Some things that carried over was the importance of getting the first attack and combo racking, but something new is the appearance of the WWF logos. White ones can be good, while red are not so much.
Their effects will vary, but they don't guarantee the outcome of a match. Like Ric Flair's wardrobe.
The matches went well until I reached Bret Hart.
My own brother. This should be good. And we're in the dungeon. Even better.
We fought a long, hard battle that even went outside of the ring, but the tiebreaker round went real fast due to getting my ass royally handed to me by the Hitman. If you do lose, it's essentially game over unless you have a continue to use, then you can go back to being the King of Hearts, albeit with your winning streak erased.
Bet that wouldn't happen if I paid DLC.
We're back on track, now it's time for Goldust. Gotta say, I love his backdrop. I sometimes forget his shtick was being a movie buff on top of being, you know, what he was meant to be at the time, but he's still just as easy as what came before him.
Whoa, how'd I make a throne fall on him? And I have a cape now? Last time he had that, we know it went great.
No capes.
It looks like all the wrestlers have their own super pin because Fatality isn't PG. And if you know the combination, you can just watch what original or unoriginal thing they came up with. You'll see what I mean later. Well, there isn't much else to discuss. I mean, I did face myself at one point.
Christ, I gotta watch out for those automated deck shufflers.
But it was still simple to get through the rest of the field. I also found it interesting that you fought the last opponent, in this case Undertaker, in a standard ring, I guess to mark how far you got or to make it feel different. But in the end, it doesn't even matter for when you get the final pin. All you get is a small clip montage of the wrestler for your efforts. Then you're booted back to the menu.
I'd be pissed if that's all there was, but I can rectify this by seeing all the other super pins. Up first is Shawn Michaels. He drops his showpiece from his short-lived interview segment on a downed opponent. And he is a Heartbreak Kid, so it makes sense. Vader says it's time for... Now that had to have been meant for Yokozuna. Vader wasn't that big, and Rikishi wouldn't come until later. The best there is, was, and ever will be gives us the belt. I mean, he was champion, but I didn't know he ruled the world. Why isn't he in this? Ahmed Johnson fucking obliterates with strength alone, and it's only appropriate that Goldust was the one to take it. While we're here, what does the bizarre one got? His own version of an Oscar or Slammy? Also see he's got a boner under there. Must have some other things in mind for that trophy. Davey Boy Smith loves Britain so much he squeezes the life out of you with the Union Jack. I'll be honest, that's crap. But he has experience with that. The Dead Man? Oh God, sends Warrior and his homophobia back where it belongs. To the grave. Warrior says... Oh, okay, I don't care if he was a piece of shit. That was cool, get fucked. Finally, we have Hunter. What do you got?
Time to use perfume!
So far, this is going better than I thought it would, and I wish there was more to talk about.
But asking for more only leads to two things in the WWF. Something entirely worse or nothing. And we have the latter.
I mean, we can go for the Intercontinental or WWF title in separate modes, but nothing really changes apart from fighting more than one opponent after a while. And honestly, I wasn't going to get past the Hart Foundation, let's be real here.
They'll be talking about that match for a long time.
When the hell did Mr. Perfect do commentary? I didn't know who that was at first, but shit, this time period is oddly specific. And those perfect puns piece things together.
It was good, but it wasn't perfect.
Only other things left include the sound setup where you can adjust the volume and test all sounds available.
Wonder if Cody can hear this while he's recovering in his bed.
There's controller setup where you can look at the preset controls or change it up, and there's a lot of options available, so you'll be able to find a scheme that works for you. You can somewhat do the same on the Saturn, but still no shoulder button support.
What would have been better was to have your punch and kick as the center buttons, then have the supers on either side so we can do what feels right to us, and have run and block on the shoulders like the PS1, but you had to be different, didn't you? And I really want to shine a better light on this system, as we're not going to come back to it in a while, and look at that! Those are graphics! Last but not least is the all-important options, which are as small as most of your private parts. What, you don't believe me? You should know what your sizes are by now. Oh, you want to know my size? You perverts, this ain't no peep show. Oh, you want to compare? You want to compare? Well, if that's how it's gonna be, check this out, YouTube. It's only underwear, you bunch of fucks.
In Your House got little coverage when it did release, but the little it did get was not inspiring. Reason why it didn't get much attention was due to Acclaim's troubles at the time, not to mention being under investigation by the SEC, and primarily focusing on Turok, put In Your House on the back of literally everybody's mind, and it just came and went like Emelina. The In Your House pay-per-views would keep going until 1999 when St. Valentine's Day Massacre was the last to use the title. That was until 2020 when the original NXT brought it back in light of what was going on in the world, and they've continued to use it in the next year. Not sure if they're going to bring it back for the 2.0 revision of the brand, but I'd say the aesthetic actually works better for the shit show that it has become.
I didn't have much hope going into this. The arcade game wasn't necessarily a highlight on the PS1 or the Saturn, so I thought there'd be much of the same when it came to In Your House. But for once, I'm glad to have been proven wrong.
I'll admit it's not fancy and it's somewhat outdated for what we expect out of a wrestling game. but for the type of game that it is, it's one of the better in the genre. The PS1 version keeps the arcade zaniness of its counterpart and ramps it up just a bit to make it a little more cartoonish, which was the product at the time, though they were slowly starting to embrace a new attitude. They also fine-tuned the controls, which was a definite plus. On the Saturn, again, though it looks just that little bit better, the way they map the controls ultimately weighs it down in comparison. But perhaps if you change the controller configuration around, it may work better for you. But damn it, I want to use the shoulder buttons. In Your House, for what it's worth, is better than what critics make it out to be. If you want some mindless fun, feel free to give this a go, cause that's what wrestling is. Mindless. You're gonna lose a few brain cells watching some of it, and heck, they think we're mindless anyway, so why not think of it the same way?
If you saw my house, you'd give it 5 stars without a second thought. But I'm giving the PS1 version of In Your House 3.5 stars, while the Saturn port gets 3 stars just because of no shoulder button implementation. You know, I feel like I'm missing something. I've covered the WWE and WCW multiple times. Hell, I've even covered TNA, but I feel like I'm leaving one particular promotion behind. Maybe it's coming in my house right now. Oh well, maybe next time.